Sir Keir Starmer has unveiled a new police capability to address violent disorder in England, labelling those responsible a tiny, mindless minority.
Recent incidences of unrest in London, Hartlepool and Manchester prompted a meeting with police chiefs in Downing Street.
And let me be clear, the meeting this afternoon was not about pointing the finger of blame. That is not how this government of service conducts its business, because it doesn't work. Rather, this was a meeting to pull together our response, a response both to the immediate challenge, which is clearly driven by far-right hatred.
Well, yesterday, a judge named the teenager charged in connection with the stabbings on Monday as 17-year-old Axel Ruder-Cabana.
3 children were killed during the attack. That's as 2 other girls who were injured have now left hospital.
Let's talk to former Scotland Yard detective Peter Bleksley. Morning to you, Peter. I mean, what do you make of this violent disorder unit? I mean, is it necessary for something to be done?
Well, some serving police officers were asking the question last night, where are these officers going to come from? Because as things stand, there simply aren't enough police officers to attend to the level of calls and crimes that are already being reported to the police. So perhaps this is yet another good idea in theory, but perhaps less easy to put into practice.
Peter, why do you think we had this, or the Prime Minister had this meeting yesterday and not after any of the previous riots we've seen this summer?
Well, of course, after Southport and then Hartlepool and then London, there was more of a concentration of those events than there had been, for example, on the sort of sporadic rioting that we saw in Hare Hills. There was clearly a lot of concern that this could spread even further around the UK. And I'm very pleased this morning that I'm not discussing with you further violence and further injuries to police officers. But there are many reasons for this rioting. It's complex. Of course, if you want to kick down somebody's front garden wall to throw a brick at police officers, then you are an absolute fool. But I think what this mindless minority was doing was kind of expressing their form of anger, which more widely are concerns held by many millions of moderate, law-abiding people.
This is the problem, though, Peter. I don't want to drag you into the politics of it all particularly, but it's the idea that this has all been branded sort of far-right thugs, and you know, undoubtedly, people who are looting and burning police cars. I mean, obviously, that's totally unacceptable behaviour, but it doesn't address the sort of simmering tensions, which, as you say, a lot of moderate people have felt for a long time, which are now bubbling over.
Absolutely. To harbour concerns about the rise of Islam in the UK, for example, does not make you Islamophobic. Far from it. Likewise, to harbour concerns about unfettered illegal immigration into the UK does not make you racist. And if you harbour concerns about both of those things, that does not automatically label you as being far right. But there seems to be a keenness on behalf of the establishment for anybody that questions the line that social cohesion is wonderful, we all live together joyously in a multicultural nation. Anybody that challenges that doctrine is automatically branded as far right, when for millions of people that is completely and utterly untrue.
Peter, one of the accusations aimed at what has been going on recently is that we have 2-tier policing in this country. What do you feel about that?
Well, people have been saying to me, Peter, look at Hare Hills a couple of weeks ago, when dozens of police officers were seen to be running away from brown-faced people who were throwing bricks. Then compare that with London a couple of nights ago, when many older white people were being slammed into the road and the pavements by police officers in full public order kit, the crash helmets and the such like. Isn't that inconsistent policing? Well, of course, it's delivered by 2 different police services in 2 different parts of the country. So perhaps it's not surprising that there are inconsistencies. but people are questioning this. And the whole phrase, two-tier policing, is becoming woven into the everyday language that people use when they're discussing our police services.
But is there some hope in what Keir Starmer announced that perhaps, you know, whatever's triggered it and how people feel about that, perhaps it will bring in a more equal level of policing, if you like?
Possibly, and I always believe in hope. But to choose the rather more broader, and dare I say it as I tiptoe into the world of broader politics, unless there is an acceptance by the establishment that everything is not rosy in the garden, lots of law-abiding, moderate, very decent, hard-working people have concerns that this UK is not as integrated as people would have us believe that it is. And until there is an honest conversation about that, then integration is going to be less likely to happen than more likely to happen. And I think that's what people want. They want the truth, they want discourse, they want dialogue, and they want peace.
OK. Peter, good to see you.
Thank you,
you very much indeed. Isn't it interesting that it's about, and it feels like very dangerous territory for us as broadcasters to even sort of dip your toe into. But actually, then there does need to be, as difficult as it may be, an honest conversation about these issues.
Yes, I agree. And I think when the Mirror does headlines like this, I'll take on the far-right thugs. Well, I mean, as Peter's just said, there are many people in this country who share the concerns but disagree with the way this behaviour. You have to talk about these issues. If you try and ignore them and just brand everyone who feels a certain way as far right, you know, they have this phrase about engaging with the community. Engage with this far right community. And I put that in inverted commas if you're listening on the radio, by the way.